We're back now with some in-depth reporting on those subpar test scores out of South Bend schools we've been reporting on today. We told you about them a few minutes ago. We want to show you those numbers one more time if we have them there. You can see from South Bend specifically. And again, this test we're talking about is the ILEARN test. This is from this past school year, and this is for those 3rd through 8th graders. You see the numbers here. For those who don't know, ELA is English Language Arts, and then you see the math scores, and then you see the numbers for both as well. So what's happening and what needs to happen to change these numbers? Carla Lee is the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction for South Bend Schools. She's a busy woman, and so thank you so much for saying yes.
Thank you for having us, Josh.
I know it's so important. It's so important. Let's talk about those scores. And I want to really quickly, I want to show the comparison. So we just saw South Bend. I want to show the numbers, if we can, of the other school districts in our area. This is PHM. You see that second batch there, that is Elkhart Community School Corporation. And then you got Schools City of Mishawaka. Those numbers, for the most part, are better than South Bend schools. And so I just want to ask you, get your initial reaction on this. You said last night, you're not running away from these numbers. You are taking them on head on. Talk about your initial reaction, though, when you saw this.
The initial reaction is that we can all see that globally that we are below not only some of our neighboring schools, but we're also below the state average. And so my initial glance, when I initially glanced at the numbers, it was alarming, it was heartbreaking, but it also sounded the alarm that we have got to break the code for learning for our students. And so that has been our focus since the release of the data.
Okay, so tell me about when you guys saw this. How many weeks or days ago did you guys first get eyes on these numbers? And were you in the room with the superintendent? Did you say something's got to be done? Walk me through that if you can.
So fortunately, the state gives us the ability to see the data almost in real time, even though it's embargoed until it is officially released. So we can actually see performance of our students very roughly at a very raw average as they are taking or engaged in taking the exam.
Gotcha.
So from April till July, we have been examining probability of what we should do, where we are, and where we need to go. And so some of those things have been creating systems. We can no longer work in isolation. We have to understand as a system, from the school board of trustees to the classroom teachers to the classroom support, and absolutely our building leaders, why are our students not learning, why they are learning, and how do we either support it or change the pivot trajectory immediately.
Let me ask you this. Would it be advantageous to have an entrance exam for kindergartners, let's say, to prevent something like this from happening too little too late, once you hit 3rd grade and realize, oh, you guys aren't at the level you should be? Do you think that needs to change earlier on? So
fortunately, Josh, we partner with Head Start of St. Joe County, as well as we have On My Way Pre-K. And some of our students are engaged in early learning as early as three-year-old. And because of that data, because of the partnership, we can understand from a very global perspective of where our students are strong and where their areas of growth are needed.
Gotcha.
And so, but although some of our students don't attend the On My Way or early childhood education, we do have a early or an admittance exam where we just take a look at letter recognition, color recognition, some of those 5-year-old learning standards, and we garner some of that information. Now, the key is, are we using the information or the data that we're gathering? Are we using it in a strategic way?
Got it.
And that's what we have to examine.
Yesterday, you guys were in that meeting, that school board meeting, and you, along with the superintendent, looked at the data within the data, if you will, the metadata. And one of the things that stood out to me, talking about the English language learners, when it comes to ILEARN, what are you doing for those early English language learners and even special needs students as well?
So the thing about all of our learners, we accept all of our learners as Tier 1 learners. And Tier 1 is defined that everyone receives grade level instruction.
Okay.
When we move beyond Tier 1 instruction, then we take deeper dives in what we refer to as Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction. And that's where it becomes granular of what do our students need to have in order for them to learn grade level standards. And so when you look at exceptional learner or non-exceptional learner, we enter that through the lens of everyone is a Tier 1 learner. And then we become more specialized as we understand what their strengths of learning are and what their gaps of learning are. And we are adopting a saying, you know, you see it, you name it, you do it. So we see it, we name it, and then we plan accordingly around what students need to be successful in their learning path.
I think a lot of people look at interviews like this and numbers like this as if it's punitive. Like we're talking because there's something you're not doing or the corporation is not doing or that parents are not doing. What needs to be done in this moment to turn things around? These numbers, they are abysmal. And when you compare them to other organizations and corporations in our area, they're not up to par. What needs to change in order for the standard itself to change?
So one of the things that we're doing is that we're creating learning as a system. So it's no longer isolated within the buildings that we have within South Bend Schools. For the first time in the 30 years that I've been a part of South Bend Schools, our school board of trustees, as well as all of our district leadership, began to engage in a partnership that we have adapted or worked with the Relay Graduate School of Education. And what that partnership is doing is helping us become granular researchers. Again, what is it that we are not addressing when we look at student learning needs, and how do we identify it and then ensure that it's present so that our students can learn? This week, we have launched our Back to School University. We've actually brought its return to South Bend School. It had been a district initiative some years ago, and we have over 475 teachers and non-certified personnel who are actively engaging in where we're going. And then we are also examining, what our summer learning looks like.
Got it.
Is the response to I read only enough, or do we need to have more complex student-facing initiatives during that summer as well?
We have about a minute left. I want to do these rapid fire if I can. Talk about unlicensed individuals teaching during those critical development years. I know a lot of people say that's the issue here. Is that glaring for you all at all? I know you need the teachers right now.
I think any district in the country who's facing the same issue would absolutely not have this issue, right? But what we've adopted is you bring the will, we will build your skill. And so we are being very intentional around not only launching and onboarding with professional learning that is student facing, but it's also academic year long.
Let me ask you about the teacher training. Will that be adjusted at all because of these numbers? And on day one, which is a couple days away, will the teacher be fully equipped to take on what we're seeing in these numbers?
So teachers will be fully equipped regarding professional learning and understanding their pathway. Will they have all the necessary tools on day one? Absolutely not. But we're going to accelerate that, again, building that skill so that it's not a longevity of building that capacity, but we're on day one. And in fact, as I've already said, we've already started.
Yeah, you guys have been doing a lot, obviously. When it's off, we're off. Kids are off. You guys are not off as
not
teachers.
Off.
Speaking of which, let's talk about, you guys have a job fair next week.
Yes.
I want you guys to talk about that because you do need some more teachers, and you're welcoming people to come in, not just for the teacher position either, right?
We're welcoming certified and non-certified personnel. So if you're interested in working with South Bend Schools and helping to mitigate those numbers, we know that this is a community effort. So if you've ever considered stepping outside your major, college major, and interested in becoming a certified teacher, again, bring the will and we will build that skill.
I love that. The paraprofessionals, bus drivers, all that thing is on that list.
All of it.
You are so busy. All of you all are in preparation for day one of school, which is coming up in just a couple weeks for South Bend Schools. Thank you for walking us through these numbers and adding critical context and perspective, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
appreciate
anytime.
it.
We'll be right back after this. Stay there.